Welcome everybody to the MinnHax 2023 Dev Showcase number 1. Today the plan is to play through the first half of the MinnHax submissions for the year and talk to the devs and see how they felt about the projects, what they learned along the way, and just kind of show off all the cool stuff everyone made. So the plan today is we're going to play through, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the submissions. And those are going to be Cloudbound, Infinite Flight, Max's Revenge, Sky Bandits, House of the Witch, Waywords, and the Great Pumpkin Grapple. So if any of the devs for any of those are on, once we get to your game, feel free to hop in and talk about it. Also, no pressure if you don't want to. But we're going to play through those in order and then just kind of show them off, ask questions if the devs are around, and hopefully show off some cool stuff. And they are all very cool, as they were last year. So to kick things off, we're going to start with Cloudbound here. So how this is going to work is between myself and Ray Lawaza, one of us will be streaming the games by sharing our screen on Discord here. So you'll want to click into the call once we're going and find the stream and click through to that to be able to watch along with what we're doing. So give me 1 second here and we will get started with Cloudbound. All right. And this one had a little bit of a trick to it to get it up and running. All right. Let me know if you can see this, hear this, hopefully. Audio, you might have to control a little bit on your end. So at the bottom of the screen, you should have a volume slider for the stream that you should be able to adjust separately from the voice volume. So if it's blowing your ears out, you can go ahead and adjust it on your end. And let me just real quick pull up the developer here. Do we have any of Brainfreeze, chickenharmigiana, Alex, Yeramia, or crabpalace? And would any of you like to hop in and talk through the game?
Yeah, I'm here.
Welcome, welcome.
Hey, I'm also here.
Very cool. All right. So real quick, as we get going here, do you guys just want to give me a rundown of all the developers on the team, a little bit about who did what platforms you used, that sort of thing?
We used Game Maker for this one.
Okay.
And there was 5 of us working on it. Brainfreeze, I think, was on the call. Alex did the audio. Myself did some the level design and programming. Crabapple did some programming, mainly the movement. Brainfreeze did a lot of the programming and level design as well. Sora's name, he's on the call as well. Yeramia, yeah, he did all the Pixar.
Very cool. And have most of you worked with Game Maker before, or worked with the tools you were using, or was this first time for anybody?
It was first time for Game Maker. I'm a Unity user, but
Okay.
it was a good opportunity to learn some other stuff.
Cool. What was the?
I'm not quite sure.
So go ahead.
I think there was we had a little bit of game maker experience before, but
Okay.
no, I'm not sure if anyone's main engine was game maker.
Got it. I feel like that's the case for a lot of people. I've used Game Maker before, but it's not what I do most of my projects in. I mean, that's definitely the case for me. Like, I used Game Maker back in school a bit. I could probably still figure some stuff out for it, but it's definitely been a bit. And where did the idea behind the game come from? I guess we should say somewhere near the top here that the theme for the jam this year was Sky's the Limit. So you're probably going to see a couple of sky-based, cloud-based sort of ideas here. Where did you guys come up with the idea for this one?
Right. So what we did, we all hopped on a call and we started with a bunch of brainstorming on a Google Jam board. And what we came up with, so I'm looking at it now, and there's like one note, and it just says, a game where you're a cloud. That's it. That's the whole idea.
Nice. That's
and I think
all
it
you need.
span out from that, and then we had some other ideas thrown around, which were like thinking of like the water cycle and like raindrops falling from the sky, and then like going back up. Yeah, we settled on the idea of like a raindrop falling from the sky and trying to get back up to its family.
Nice. This main mechanic is super cool. This whole floating up as a cloud in these specific zones, and like the conservation of momentum and stuff is really cool for some of these. I played a little bit of this earlier also, but the way that you design the levels around, you know, the momentum mechanic works really well. Was that stuff a challenge in Game Maker? I remember, at least in my experience, it's maybe not the friendliest engine for like physics-y sort of stuff.
I can't say too much about it because I mainly did the music and the sound. So if anyone else wants to chip in from our team, but yeah.
It seemed that I don't know if Crab is on. He handled the movement to it, a lot of it. We took turn, you know, we passed it around a bit, but he was kind of the main one behind it. But yeah, it was it took some time to compare to Unity to I felt like to get it working as well as it does right now.
Yeah, I know crabpalace's Game Jam game from last year, they kept working on for months and months after the jam ended, which was super fun to watch. That's another thing to keep in mind for any of these games. If you liked working on them, you're absolutely free to keep working on them after this if it was something you enjoyed. That's always fun to see everyone's progress throughout the month and beyond. So I know, yeah, crabpalace, I think last year was first time working in Game Maker and then carried it forward this year. Did you all incorporate any of the side quests, the optional objectives that were? I mean, off the top of my head, I mean it's probably doing the no text one, right? Because everything is just kind of intuitive to figure out. It's not explaining it on screen how to do everything necessarily.
I don't think we put any of the side quest stuff. We were just trying to get, you know, a nice feeling platformer out.
Sure.
Try to design
you
levels.
definitely did that. It's super cool. I really enjoy the feel of it and the mechanics, as I'm really evidencing here, showing off these great mechanics like dying repeatedly.
Yeah, we were all Celeste fans, and
Sure.
figured, having that quick die and respawn quick enough would be important here.
Yeah,
I've
so
heard,
that did come up a
sorry, go
lot.
ahead.
We had quite a lot of scrapped power-ups. We had quite a bit of fun coming up with ideas for power-ups and fun level design things that we didn't have time to implement.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of just the nature of game jams. There's always probably 5 times more that you wanted to get in than you could. But I think what you have here is super awesome. Is there anything off the top of your head, like other things you would have added to it or wanted to get to in terms of power-ups, mechanics, things like that?
Well, we were thinking a lot about the cloud stuff and what you can do with that. Like, we had ideas for like a little guy turning into ice and stomping on the ground. We had ideas for some lightning power-ups, breaking blocks with thunder.
Cool.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot more you can do with clouds and water and that whole theme. You could even,
we wanted to.
No, go ahead.
We wanted to focus we could, a little bit more on the, like you noticed there, how the wind only affects you when you're a cloud. More stuff like that, like some like electricity maybe only hits you when you're a raindrop form, and having to switch between those two. Also, trying to figure out ways to make the light more dynamic would have been cool, like get it, be able to change its direction or change, its angle. But the way we built it made it very difficult to change course. So we worked with what we had.
Did I get myself stuck here, or am I missing something?
No.
If you hit the button and then make a quick jump to as it's moving up.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Awesome. Are there any questions from anyone either in the text chat or wants to hop into the voice chat real quick? Any questions for the devs or comments about the game, anything like that? And we saw a couple people that love the music in the chat there, which I definitely agree with.
Thank you.
I'll jump in if that's okay.
Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah. I was just curious more on the how you implemented the light that turns you into a cloud and how it adjusts the physics. Like, for example, here where you have like the colliders, the platforms are changing and moving, and then it's basically like unlocking the light. I'm just really curious how you implemented that.
I think I saw Brainfreeze in the call. I'm not sure if you can speak on that. It's kind of, that was his.
Sorry, can you guys hear me? I'm like half here.
Yep, we got you.
Okay. Yeah, so that was like the first couple weeks of the jam for me, was just trying to get the light to work, basically. Basically, the way it works is that there's a light source and you give it like a direction and a size for the light, and it just like populates the entire screen with that. And then each individual light object that it creates goes back to check whether there is something between it and the original source to say whether it should be like active or not. That's basically all it does. And then yeah, we basically just had two sets of physics variables set up for the cloud and for the raindrop. That's like crabpalace's territory. That like at any time it switched, it would change the variables and it would just on the fly like reverse the gravity or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks.
That's usually how game jams tend to go. Is you have the idea for the main mechanic. It's like, okay, the first half of the jam is making sure that I can actually pull this off, and then we'll see if we can make content with the mechanic once it's actually implemented. Anyone else? Any questions for the devs, either text or voice? Alright, well, this was super awesome. Congrats to all the devs on this project. You did a great job. Last question for all of you. Did you have fun? And would you do this again?
Yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah, this is really cool.
Awesome, glad to hear it. I know I can only speak for myself, but I'd love to keep doing this game jam every year. This year I wasn't able to participate myself, but it was still super fun to help organize and enable everyone else to make cool stuff. So you guys should be really proud of yourselves. Alright, let's go ahead and close that out here, and we're going to be moving on to Ray Lawaza streaming the next one. So you're going to want to click that when he pops in, and I believe the next one is going to be Infinite Flight. All right, and again, feel free to adjust volume on your own end, up and down as needed. And do we have Infinite Flight's developer in the building?
Hey, yeah, that's me.
Very cool. Welcome. What's your name? What, I guess, was this this was a solo project, right? So you did everything on this?
That's right. Yeah, so I'm Danny Cherry or Cherry Stemic in the Discord, and yeah, so I did everything. So yeah, it's made in Unreal. I've been using Unreal for quite a couple of years, maybe like 5 or 6 years. So
Okay.
I'm quite familiar with its like blueprinting visual scripting system, which is kind of
Mhm.
ideal for jams because you can
Oh yeah.
put quick prototypes together really fast. So
The same with just like the being able to block things out in Unreal is great for game jams in terms of I forget what they call it, but just their built-in, like level geometry
yeah, the BFG
prototyping.
system.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, so I come from
Haru,
kind of a level design
go somewhere
background, so
else.
that's kind of
Sure.
sort of what you see most of, I think, in the game. And yeah, so yeah, I just did everything myself. Tried my hand at sound design
Haru,
for the
go
first time,
somewhere
which was a bit hit or miss, but no, I'm quite happy with the overall result.
I really like the background music, how it's kind of sparse and kind of comes in and out. I think fits the vibe really well.
Yeah, that was a very last minute addition, but yeah, I'm happy I got it in there because it does, yeah, set the tone. The some of the sound effects that I used, like for the when you pick up an orb, it's like a clip of Jeffem that I've just had stuck in my brain for like years because yeah, I think it's at the end of I think Ben and Jeffem did like their reaction to the Disney showcase, and then like that's just a bit at the end that Jeffem like throws in there, and I just thought it was so funny. So um, I just kind of wanted to repurpose it, and it kind of works in a weird way because he's saying like, Aru, go somewhere else, and it's kind of like he's telling you to go somewhere else in the
go
game.
somewhere else.
Yeah, you figured out this orb, go find a different one.
Yeah.
We got to get more specific quotes out of him next year where he says, "Go find the next orb in my game, Infinite Flight." Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
maybe he
hoping
should
he'll
start
work that into a stream somewhere.
Yeah, or start a cameo so I can, request it.
Right, yeah, there you go. Yeah, I guess we kind of skipped over it. We were talking about just more general things, but you want to walk us through the mechanics of what's happening here in the game itself?
Yeah, of course. So I think the idea started off obviously with the theme. So sky's the limit, and most of my games are typically first person, because I think just all of my favorite games are like that. So I kind of wanted. I think I've been wanting to make sort of like a first person game where you have a sort of jetpack or something, and I thought this was kind of the perfect time to sort of make that kind of mechanic, and yeah, and then I was just kind of thinking about how in games, when you have a jetpack, it kind of like eventually runs out, and it's kind of a bummer to fall back
Go
down. So I was
somewhere
like, why not
else.
just like leave the flight capabilities sort of uncapped? So it kind of like sets a certain more kind of relaxed tone.
Just make it all the fun part.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, I like, again, with like the you mentioning that you were concepting it as a jetpack. In my mind, for whatever reason, I was thinking like flapping wings, and I kind of like the ambiguity of that with just this kind of sparse landscape with this kind of like weird atmospheric sound, and you don't really know what's going on or who you are here. I think it all kind of works together well.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, yeah, that was definitely I did end up making a wings flapping sound, and that was just me with like a dish towel in my kitchen just
awesome.
it out. So
Very cool.
that's the kind of rough sound design you get when you have a level designer doing it.
Right.
So
No, that's the same for me. I've always loved making my own sound effects for the stuff I make. And sometimes I tell myself that it's placeholder, and then usually just kind of ends up staying in there forever. So
yeah. But no, I think I think someone in the chat was laughing at the Jeffem art there. That was I did want to include more art in the game, just kind of like graffiti on the walls kind of thing. But then I think one of the was it the kind of side objectives was to have a hidden Jeffem in the level.
Yep.
So that was
the side quests.
I did have the title of this piece of art, if you can call it that, and I did
I
call
would.
it yeah. I did call it Jeffem the Grafted at one point.
Sure,
but,
yeah.
So
That checks out. There you go. That's a thumbnail.
it was funny. I was reading the rules for the jam a bit too late on in the process, and then I think it was like one of the rules was like, "Oh, be mindful when you're using like the likenesses of cohorts," and I was a bit like, "Have I
Oh
gone
no,
too
you're good.
Yeah.
That's more for like, hey, don't make them doing anything they wouldn't do
Right.
in real life that anyone
Right.
could be offended by. More in that direction. I think I can't speak for him, but I think Jeffem would appreciate what you've created here.
I certainly hope so.
Haru, go somewhere else.
Was there anything along the way? You said you've worked in Unreal for a while before. Was there anything in this project that was like a new skill or a new tool or anything that you incorporated?
That's a good question. New stuff. Yeah, so see the flying thing in the air. I think at one point I was intending it for it to be, I don't know, like a sky whale or something like that, but it ended up just being this like block because obviously it ran out of time. But so yeah, because when I first started concepting the idea, I had the kind of flying around mechanics done, and I was kind of like, what's an interesting sort of thing to do where you can fly about, and it's like I really like it in games like Shadow of the Colossus. Obviously there's like a kind of sensation when you're sort of on something else that's moving in the environment of a game, and it's kind of like a very sort of specific sort of nice feeling. So that I put some effort into making this thing fly about. I think I wanted to have more of them flying about, and you'd have to fly onto more sort of moving objects. But yeah, that was quite tricky because it's like basically the big object is sort of, it's programmed to follow like a spline basically that's and like just circling the environment. So yeah, then that was really fun to implement as well. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, hey, you could always get that sky whale in there if you kept working on this.
Yeah, I'm not much of a 3D artist, so I might need to get someone on board for that as well. But no, yeah, definitely, I'll definitely look into implementing these mechanics into some other games, I think, as well, because they were really fun to make and to play with. So
awesome. Any questions from either the chat or the voice for Cherry Stomach here?
I've got a quick question. I really like the in the middle how you've got like the different spheres to kind of show your progress. Did you have a certain like inspiration for that, rather than like having like a UI element? I like that it's in game.
yeah, for sure. So I think when I was adding the orbs, I didn't have something in mind for like how to indicate your progress, and I really didn't want to. I do find UI to be a bit of a cop out sometimes because I didn't want to have just like
Haru, go
the number
somewhere
5 out of
else.
5 orbs or like 4 out of 5 orbs on the screen at all times, because I think that kind of takes away from the immersion a bit. So yeah, I did. I think once I started adding the orbs, I was like, what's a diegetic sort of way to represent your progress? And I was also trying to figure out how to, in level design, there's, what are called like weenies or sort of landmarks that help the player sort of orient themselves around the level. So it just kind of like came to me that I was like, well, I could have these orbs in the middle, and they kind of serve a double purpose in that they, show the player how much they progress through the game, but then also it helps them orient themselves around the level. So, yeah, and I don't know if I think game jams are really good for that kind of thing because they kind of make you sort of desperate to come up with smart sort of solutions to things in a tight sort of time period. So that just kind of came out of the process.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely why one of the side quests was, which I don't know if this is why you wanted to do it or if you're just anti-UI in general. But one of the side quests is to have a game without like text that's explaining things on screen. Because I think I agree. I think it's super interesting to try to push yourself in a direction where you can explain things without putting words. Because honestly, some of that was selfish with my game last year. I had like a big like 2-page thing you had to read to even understand how to play it at all, and I was like, this doesn't work for a game jam. I need to push myself to make something that you can just kind of figure out. The orbs in the middle are very Cocoon. I don't know if you played that this year, but definitely
I've
reminded
not.
me of that.
it's on the back burner for sure.
That's a great example of a game with I think
Haru,
0
go
text
somewhere
in
else.
the whole game. I don't even know. I'm sure on like the start menu it does, but once you're in, it had none as far as I know, which was super cool. All right. Any other questions? If not, we can move on to the next one. Awesome job on this.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna ask the same question. Did you have fun working on this? Would you do it again?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'd do it again. I think in terms of the fun I had, it kind of, peaks and valleys.
Sure. Yeah, that's game
um,
development.
But no, I definitely had fun, and yeah, for sure would do it again. And yeah, no, I just really appreciate MinnHax
Haru,
and
go
the
somewhere else.
obviously your guys' help as the jam organizers, because yeah, these kind of things just sort of encourage a lot of creativity from the community, and I just really appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Hope to see you if we do this again next year. And
Yeah.
let's go ahead and move on to our next one here, which is second. That is going to be Max's Revenge. So if we have any of the Max's Revenge devs present, you can go ahead and hop up.
Hello. It's Pavel here. There's also Radio with us, but he said he couldn't speak, so
No
I
worries.
guess I'll be the representative, and Ray couldn't make it, so
Happy to have whoever we've got. All right, can everybody see and hear Max's Revenge? I guess there's no audio yet, but can you see Max's Revenge? All right, let's go ahead and hop into this one. I am very biased into. Sorry, I'll let
Before we
Bobo
get
first.
started, I've sure got to introduce my best friend in the whole world, Max the Minnow.
Hi, Blumpo!
Hi, Blumpo. I think we discussed. I say hi, Blumpo too. That's my catchphrase.
All right, what I was gonna say is I was immediately biased into loving this game because it's Echo the Dolphin, and I love Echo the Dolphin. So the devs that we have in here, why don't you introduce yourselves, the team, kind of what everyone worked on, what platforms you used, just a quick little overview if you don't mind.
yeah, sure. So let me just turn it down a little bit, okay?
Yeah, definitely figure that out on everyone else. Again, at the bottom of the screen share, you should be able to see a volume slider for anyone who has it way too loud.
Got my minnow!
So yeah, there were 3 of us. We all did some programming. We chose Godot this year with all the Unity stuff happening around the time the jam started. We decided to learn something new. Yeah, and I think Radio did the music, Ray did most of the art, and unfortunately this year I didn't have that much time to help, so I did some programming here and there, but now I'm the one talking, so all the glory goes to me, I guess.
That's right.
Another cutscene.
Sorry, I'll let the cutscene.
Hey, everybody, welcome. It's Jeff the Fish Guy. We're gonna be doing some hardcore fishing here today.
Haley just pointed out in the chat that the way the water moves when you're moving in and out of it is super cool. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, Ray
was this-
surprised us with this one. One day it just appeared in the game and it was really great, yeah, we agree. I don't know technically how it was done, I didn't have the time to look into it. So I'm not the best person to describe it.
No worries. Maybe we can get them to post about it in the Game Jam channel later or something. So was this everyone's first time working in Godot then, or did any of you have experience with it prior?
Got my minnow!
I'll answer after the cutscene. There's a lot of
perfect.
cutscenes for it.
No, that's good.
Oh no! Blumpo?
Flumpo!
We couldn't afford voice acting for all the cutscenes, unfortunately.
You
It's
can
the
find any
JRPG way.
can find any convenient clips of Janet talking to a fish.
Yeah, we could have fed AI all the podcasts and then let it do it, but
Right.
it didn't seem right.
I love this integration here, where of course, if anyone is going to teach you how to run on land, it's going to be Janet. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Exactly, yeah. So a lot of thought was put into which of the cohorts teaches you which upgrade or which skill. So I hope it all makes sense once you keep playing.
Yeah,
So,
this kind of blew my mind when it completely changed to a different sort of platformer, and you had time to make more than one game, basically.
Then you said it's no longer Echo the Dolphin, so I don't like it anymore.
Exactly, yeah. So I will be closing it immediately. No, that's super impressive. Like I was saying earlier, for one of the games, it's like every time I've ever worked on a game jam, it's like I'll have the idea for what the main mechanic is, and I'll spend the first couple weeks even of the jam just figuring out how that works, and then adding content to it after. The idea that you were able to make multiple completely separate, movement mechanics and everything.
So
Is
the
super
first
impressive.
idea was to do something Hades-like. So instead of the cohorts giving you a specific power-up, you would be able to choose one. But obviously this turned out to be way too complicated in just 4 weeks. So it's just linear progression with new upgrades after each level.
Vengeance, huh? Perfect.
Yay!
that soundbite specifically is a real good one. Oh, here we go.
Last
I
week-
remember. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
I remember someone posting the work in progress of this Halloween level, because it was an October jam, so
Exactly.
we encouraged spooky stuff. Oh man, that art in the background is awesome.
Yeah, the art is amazing. And
Yeah.
also, it was put in there like 2-3 games before 2-3 days before the deadline, so it
Yeah,
was all
that's how these
basic
things go.
assets most of the time. And then one day I wake up, I pull the repository, and suddenly there's ghosts. So great.
That's
And
awesome.
last game, Cherry Stamic said that the UI is a cop out. So sorry for the top right corner. I mean,
No,
it's-
for different games it makes sense. Especially, this one kind of evoking, an old school, like, I was gonna say Super Nintendo, but honestly it feels more like Game Boy Advance almost to me.
could be.
But I think it works there, for UI. I don't think every game should have no UI, but I think it's cool for some.
That was a pro gamer move.
Thank you.
Jump.
Yeah, I had to focus up here. I died a couple times in a row there and felt like I was embarrassing myself. So, was there anything else? Any like funny things along the way on making it, or things that you wanted to include and couldn't get to? Just funny stories from a month of work.
Yeah, so code-wise, it's not great, but that's to be expected from a jam. And I don't know, basic stuff like level management or audio asset management, this is something that we just put in there, and we hoped it would, let's say, be okay, and it was, but if we were to do something else with it, for sure there would need to be some better management of the code. But you don't see it when you play it, so who cares in a game that's done in a month. And we had fun, I think, with Godot. At least I did. And you asked whether it was our first time working with this engine, and I think it was for all of us. I only have some experience with Unity mostly from last year's game jam. So this
Oh,
was
awesome.
a completely different approach, but it's very easy to do, especially something like a platformer. So
Nice. That's good to hear. I considered doing Godot for mine, and then decided I didn't have enough time to learn a new engine, and then decided I didn't have enough time to make a game this month. So, but that's super cool to hear that it was a relatively smooth transition.
And also, it might seem like there are a lot of different enemies in the game. Basically, there's just 3 types: those that walk, those that jump, and those that walk and jump. But okay, another cutscene. But anyway, I mean, you can change the parameters, so the speed, the height of the jump, and so on.
Right.
So you can adjust it to different sprites, and then it looks like it's more than it really is.
Yeah, especially for something like a game jam, being
Exactly,
able to
yeah.
easily insert a little more variety like that is super handy. Oh wow.
That's the.
All right, I'm gonna keep playing here, but you can go ahead and open it up. If anyone has questions, again, from either the voice or the text chat, you can go ahead and hop in and ask a dev.
Railwaza posted the Kyle sprite and said this is
Yeah,
art.
that's
the
a good one.
sprites are amazing. I mean the cohorts.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where you could have shown me any of these sprites and I would have known who was who without you having to tell me, I think, which is a success on its own.
Was Jeff always going to be the villain? Yes, I think that's the case. Although there was one version of the game where the idea was for Max to become one of the cohorts, and the story went slightly differently. But then we decided, no, he broke off, and he's the tabletop master, so there needs to be a final challenge with a board game, which is coming up, I think, at the end of this level.
So the Max becoming a cohort ending, it just didn't test screen very well. Had to come up with a different ending. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh right, water. It's been a couple levels.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can tell, but I don't think any of us have level design experience. But I mean, playing through it, it's maybe the Game Boy Advance comparison is fine. I mean, it's not great, but it's playable. So
no, I think it works well.
You used to be able to jump right there, but then you just go in a loop. So we increased the height of the blocks by 2.
Yeah.
And that solved the problem. That's how you do games.
That's right. My go-to when I'm fixing things is usually multiply by 10. If that's too much, multiply by 5. And then if that's too much, multiply by 2. And just kind of, figure out what number something is supposed to be and go from there. All right. Oh, wow. This is great. This is like a JRPG ending.
Exactly.
How long did it take you to rig up the camera for this in Godot? I never used Godot, but I'm really impressed by the camera.
3 minutes. It's out of the box available. You just plug it. You just attach it to the sprite, to the player character, and it's there.
Oh wow.
You didn't have to mess with too much to get
Not
it to...
really, no. There are some variables you can change, but it's very easy.
Wow, this is great. It's tic-tac-toe, but in like a Mega Man boss rush room. Is that what we're going for here?
Exactly.
Beautiful. Classic blunder, Jeffem.
Yeah!
Oh man, the voice clips are fantastic.
Yeah!
Perfect.
I'm a minnow!
The obligatory Red Dead Redemption 2 joke.
Yep, gotta get it in there. And Max's classic catchphrase of "I'm a minnow."
Exactly.
All right, that was awesome. Great work on this. I love that you can, collect all the sprites at the bottom here. Nice flat colored background, so it'll be nice and easy for everyone to just, extract these, make emotes. I'm not telling anyone how to do their jobs, but I think that would be pretty great, personally. All right, well, if there aren't any other questions for now, I think we're gonna move on. Awesome job on this.
Thank you.
And final question: did you have fun?
A lot of it. And we're
Awesome.
coming back next year if
Perfect.
you organize it again. Thanks.
Hope so. Yeah,
Thanks for
that would be
doing
great.
it.
All right, thanks so much. Let's go ahead and move on to our next one. And that will be a Ray Loaza stream, which it looks like is up for Sky Bandits. Everyone seeing and hearing this one as well?
How's it going?
Pretty good. Are you the developer in the house?
Yes, just me.
All right, awesome. Why don't you introduce yourself, a little bit about the project, maybe the platform you used.
Sure. I am FunkyPayps. It's pronounced Papes, but I don't fault you if you don't get that part right. I don't know anything about coding whatsoever, so I just went through the list of resources and saw Game Maker there, and it said free and easy to learn with no experience.
Yeah.
I will say questionable if you have zero experience, but
Sure.
I managed to get through it, so I spent most of my time just trying to figure out the actual language, and scrambling to try to make that into something that was actually a game. But I think overall it turned out as the basic concept that I had to begin with was mostly implemented with a lot of my head banging against the wall throughout the process.
Yeah, I bet. So this was your first time working on anything game dev then?
Yes, this is my first time ever using a language
Wow,
or coding
that's
or
awesome.
anything.
Very impressive.
I
why don't you
play
walk us
logic
through-
games, but that's
Okay,
about
sure,
as far as
yeah.
I've ever done.
What, like little like exapunks, or what are the those? Oh, what's the developer? Never mind. The programming games. That's
I
definitely.
think Google
helps.
has a few where it's like a
Yeah.
rabbit jumping across blocks, and I was like, yeah, I know how to code now.
Right, exactly.
No, not at all.
That's awesome. Why don't you walk us through what's happening mechanically here? I see you took the "Sky's the Limit" theme literally.
Yes. That was the main inspiration was just the theme. I wanted to try to illustrate that your atmosphere is disappearing and you need to try to yoink other people's as you go by. There was a lot of scrapped concepts. Like I wanted to have gravity with the planets. I wanted to be able to have more obstacles, other things trying to steal your atmosphere away. But just getting the base game going was hard enough as it was. So
Right.
yeah, I mostly wanted it to be you're skimming by, stealing air from planets as you go. And then ideally, eventually I got the power-ups in there. They have little bonuses as you take each type of atmosphere. But yeah, just a mad dash to kind of rush around the galaxy and hopefully not run out of air.
Yeah, it's super cool. The kind of like endless scrolling of it almost makes me think of like what are they called? Like the agar.io or like the snake.io, where it's
Oh yeah.
going around a whole endless scrolling screen just trying to stay alive as long as you can. Yeah, this is super cool. How did you how is the endless scrolling implemented? I assume you could just go straight in one direction and it would just loop at some point.
Yeah, so I used a lot of assets for this, so all the music, all of the art and stuff, except for that one little voice clip when you hit a planet. That's me, but everything else I basically had to take. So the background, I was able to get a tiling space background, and then
Okay, yeah,
Game
yeah.
Maker is able to allow you to loop that. And everything you see that's working is some tutorial that I scrounged up and kit bashed into what I needed to do.
Hey,
So
they
eventually,
pay me to be a quote unquote professional developer, and I still Google how to do things 30 times a day. Like that never changes. That's just how it's always going to be. That there's no shame in that. You know, you use what you have.
I
No,
appreciate
this
the
is super
acceptance.
well put together.
Yeah, so I got a tiling background and then was able to follow a tutorial to get it to loop. And then the biggest challenge was getting all of the objects to spawn randomly as you continue going.
Right.
And that was probably
Yeah.
the biggest challenge of this whole thing was getting stuff to spawn in a reasonably spaced out way without it being too overcrowded or too distant, but
Yeah, the
it didn't really
balancing
work
thing.
out the way I wanted because I wanted more of a procedural thing that I could tie together, and right now it's just random number generation, so you
Mhm.
could not encounter a planet, which isn't great, but you can win the game if you're lucky.
What does winning look like?
So if you get to the pink galaxy, which is every time you hit a moon, a little marker will show up and kind of point you in that direction. Once you reach the galaxy, if you have a lot of atmosphere left, you should get a higher score. I didn't have enough time to implement like a real true ending. Just getting everything to working, like even all the power-ups from each atmosphere was added in like the last day, I think, the last 2 days. Just me scrambling to try to throw everything together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any questions from the gallery here? Whether text or voice, if you want to hop in and ask away. I know for my money, I've always loved game jam games that are repeatable like this. Just finding like a satisfying gameplay that you can, like high score games. People, I think it's an instinct, and I totally understand it. I have it too, but an instinct with a lot of game jams, people want to make story stuff where like every level is different, and it's so much work. And if you start thinking about high score games or repeatable games and stuff like that, I think that really opens up the possibilities a lot for what you can do in the scope of a game jam. So I've always loved stuff like that, like repeatable, score-based kind of stuff where you keep playing it over and over.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of roguelike games. It's most of the hours that I spend on Steam. So I wanted to have something that you could sort of try to get a little bit better at throughout the course of playing it. It's more just about knowing more about the game than it is about having like a cheat code or something. So
question from the chat here: how did you make the planet look like it has weight when it moves?
So all of the movement is GameMaker has specific set functions built into it. So like friction and gravity and acceleration and all that stuff. So I basically just spent the first week and a half just toying around with how do I get something to move left at all, and then how do I get it to move not at the light speed?
Right.
So basically I have a set amount of acceleration that caps out, and then there's constant friction that's pulling it back, and I wanted the plant to feel a little weighty. I didn't want it to feel like a spaceship necessarily.
Yeah,
So
you
stopping
can really
the
tell
turn
when you try to stop and turn the other direction is when you can really tell that it has some weight to it.
I think I probably made it too difficult. There wasn't enough play testing at the end. Because I'm noticing a lot of people my friends that have tried it since then have not been able to actually get to the galaxy. So there's some noodling to be done there, but
Sure. Do you think you're gonna keep working on it?
yeah, I think I wanted to include some more obstacles in the way, and maybe multiple levels, more planets, more different kinds of atmospheres. There was lots of ideas that I wanted that didn't pan out, but Also, the code is a mess. I feel like if I add a
Oh, it
single
always
thing
is.
anywhere, everything
Yep.
breaks. I'm
Yep.
just nervous to touch it.
All right, final question. Did you have fun? Would you do this again next year?
Yeah, I'd love to do it again. I'd also love to be in a team and maybe
Sure,
focus
yeah.
on one thing. All of it together was a bit much for me at the very end, but I
Yeah,
was
definitely.
very happy and proud with the final product. So
You should be. This is awesome.
thank you.
All right. Very cool. I think we're gonna let's let Ray, I guess, close out this.
There
run
is
he's on
one
now.
happy face at the very end if you wait a little bit, but
Oh, okay.
oh,
See if
he
we get
finally
there.
got
Oh,
there.
here we go. Good timing. All right.
He's sneaky. You give him a second, he'll show up.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. Nice job, Ray, on your gamer skills. All right. Next, we're going to be looking at House of the Witch. Let me go ahead and pull that up. And then let me get a stream going for all of you. And do we have any developers from House of the Witch?
We sure do.
All right.
Hello.
And yeah, Mike's here as well.
All right, give me 1 second. This is a little loud on my end. Let me see if I can do something about that. All right. Let's go ahead and get started here. Developers, if you'd like to introduce yourselves, who did what platform you used.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Matt. Mike's here.
Hello. Yeah, I did the music and a bunch of the sound effects. Not all of them, but yeah.
Yeah. Luciano did the terrific art that you're seeing. Unfortunately, he is at the airport, I believe. He's not able to talk in today. But I'm, as I said, Matt. I did the programming and all the Godot stuff, which was the engine we used.
Okay.
First time using it since I have previously been using Unity. But for the same reasons, I forget what the other team mentioned around how the timing around this was all like when Unity was kind of
right.
having a lot of issues.
It was like as we were in the final planning stages that all of the Unity stuff was popping off. So
yeah, definitely, yeah. So it was good to try out Godot. There's a lot of teething problems whenever you switch to a new engine, and that was definitely we had some of those. But I think all in all, it went pretty well. Yeah, like this is the idea we had from the get-go. We threw around some ideas and liked the idea of a on-rail shooter that wasn't a shooter, and
missed one.
Haha! I bet it was the fence. That's the one I always forget there. Yeah. So we had this idea, and the Halloween, fit in really well. So yeah, we kind of. I think it went really smoothly. Like we had this idea, as I said, pretty early on, and then we just worked towards it. And outside of a few issues, we didn't really encounter too many big problems.
Yeah, it seems like at least some of this was inspired by some of the side quests. I know there was make a spooky Halloween game. There was make a non-violent game. There was, I don't know if that was any of the inspiration behind that.
Yeah, I think most of that stuff just came up organically, and it just was kind of luck that we that matched up with the side quests. But yeah, I think we were all pretty clear on like the non-violent thing. Did you want to say anything, Mike, sir?
Yeah, well, actually, one thing you guys are talking about is just like the whole scope of the game. It would kind of seem like we were able to execute on like almost everything that was planned initially, which was kind of like surprising. Like, we were like obviously assuming that we'd have to cut a bunch of ideas, and somehow we ended up, thanks to the hard work of everyone, we ended up like putting in pretty much every idea that we had initially.
That's
Would you
awesome,
agree with
especially
that, Matt?
working in a new engine.
Yeah. I think, as Mike said, I think we all worked really hard. Luciano, just like a phenomenal job with the art. He'd never like done pixel art before.
Wow.
But yeah, so it was just, and he said that and then gave us like the first set of assets, and I was like, "You're lying. You've
Right,
been doing this for
yeah.
years."
That was my reaction just now. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah, and he just kept like constantly producing new assets and presenting them, and able to put them in pretty quickly. It was great. Like Mike said, it was very smooth.
Oh, I think we're having some streaming issues here. I'll see if I can maybe close it and go back in at the next stopping point. So were there, I mean, it sounds like everything went pretty much smoothly, but were there any Godot specific challenges with trying to learn that?
Yeah, I could spend an hour talking about some of the stuff we did have issues with. Predominantly, it was a crash that we were having a lot of trouble trying to fix. Oh, did you just close the stream? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just gonna refresh it
there.
and see if that fixes the issues people are having.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we hit an issue around the way Godot manages its memory when freeing memory and switching scenes. Basically, I just had to spend a couple of days like running the game like repeatedly on a different PC, just trying to diagnose this memory issue. It was terrible. We eventually got to where I was happy enough with it, but it was just compared to my experience with Unity, it's very hard to get like troubleshooting support for Godot, just because there just isn't the volume of users out there, and
right.
They obviously doesn't have a company backing it.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason I ended up with Unity in the first place. Basically, it's just any problem you have with Unity, you can Google, race car game left wheel turned sideways, and like someone has searched that before. Any little specific problem you have with any type of game, someone has had that issue before. So
Yeah.
that's something that's definitely intimidating about jumping ship.
Yeah, that was basically the frustration that I had, was when I was like, I could do this in a couple of minutes in Unity, but it was taking me, hours
Right.
in Godot just because it was, it was unfamiliar.
And do you think, for you at least, do you think that Godot is an option for you moving forward, or is it more like, oh, that was like a fun novelty to try out for a month?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like, I'm glad that I tried it out and I enjoyed it, and I think it's a great, like, the editing experience of Godot is in some ways a lot better than Unity. It's a lot snappier, a lot easier to do some things, and there's stuff baked into Godot, like it can generate like proper convex meshes for your colliders for your mesh automatically, where Unity you kind of need a plugin or an add-on from the asset store to get that same functionality. So yeah, there's some cool stuff there, but I think ultimately I'll be probably sticking with Unity.
All right, real quick, I'm just gonna try one more time to restart it, maybe change some settings and see if we can fix something here. I was putting out at 1440. Maybe that's too much. All right. If not, I think we're just gonna have to keep moving on. Sorry about that. If people are having issues with the stream. Oh, also we might be at the end here.
Yeah, this is the credits.
Awesome. Very cool. I love the little like Polaroids of. Is this actually taking like what I did versus just a general screenshot of?
Yeah. No, it's
That's awesome.
So yeah, the before after sections for each of those, basically it takes a photo of the before, just before you start playing, and then it'll take a photo after, and then stores those and keeps them for this end credit sequence.
Super cool. Did anybody have any questions, whether voice or text, for the devs here? All right, if there aren't any questions, then my last question is, did you have fun working on this, and would you come back next year?
Mike, did you want to answer first?
Sure. Yeah. So Matt and I actually worked together last year as well.
Oh, very cool. What was which project were you last year?
We did the Trivia Tower Getting Better edition.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that was a great one.
But yeah, so it was great to work with Matt again, and then yeah, I would definitely do it again. I didn't have quite as much time on this time, but I think I was able to get all the sound that I wanted to get in, and like we got music for kind of all the different sections. So yeah, it was a great experience again, and a testament to how good the team was. So yeah, thanks guys, even though Luce isn't here.
Yeah, great job everybody. This was really cool. Very impressive. This could honestly go into like an app store now. Like you can put this up on itch now. It's super complete.
Thanks. Yeah, I think we all, as we've said a couple of times, the fact that we were pretty on track the entire time meant we had a lot of time for polish towards the end, which I think we did pretty well. Everything, like Luce, for example, went back and redid a lot of the original assets because even just in the short 4 weeks, he felt like he had gotten so much better at pixel art that he just went back and redid a whole bunch of the early art.
Very cool. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. And we're going to go ahead and move on to our next game.
Thank you.
All right. Next, a little bit different for this one because it is a physical game. So I think what we're going to do here is tune into Ray Loaza's stream and watch a video explaining this game. But then after that, the cool thing about this one is I believe you can just click through a link and find, the rules and play it for yourself at home. So Ray, whenever you're ready, we can go ahead and watch this video together. And then I do believe we have the developer here as well. So after the video, we can go ahead and have a little chat.
Hey, I'm Justin Nichols, and this is Waywords, a word association game played along 4 spectrums that all loop together. In the game, players will need to come up with clever one-word clues to get their teammates to guess the correct number along one of the 4 spectrums. For instance, if I happen to have a 1 in my hand, I need to think of a word that associates with both tree and dog, but leans closer to tree. Forest might be a good clue here. Hopefully that would get my teammates to kind of focus in around 1 or 12. And although I would love to visit a pizza forest, hopefully they would kind of align forest more between tree and dog and thus pick 1. If I just so happen to have a 2 in my hand, then I would need to think of a word that equally associates with tree and dog. Bark might be a good clue here because dogs bark and trees have bark. Alright, let's do a quick test now. I've got a number in my hand and I want you to guess it.
I want to see some guesses in the chat.
The word dough. D-O-U-G-H. Now where do you think dough would fit? Take some time. Think of a number. Alright, got your number locked in? Boom. If you guess 9, you read my mind, and we get a correct arrow token. If you would have guessed 8, well, since 8 is adjacent to 9 and on the same line, we get a close token that's both an arrow and an X. If you would have guessed 7 or any other number, wah wah, we get a wrong X token. And that's the core gameplay of Waywords. If you're interested in learning more, I do have gameplay clips, a video walkthrough, rulebook, print and play files, also a digital version you can play online for free. All of that is linked in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Bye.
I'm thinking 1. Let's go with 1. 1. Well, that's it. Yeah. Hey!
All right, very cool. Ray, if you want to go ahead and just mute and just replay that, yeah, you're on it. Perfect. And then Justin, I think, is the developer here. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
So Real quick, do you want to just give us a rundown of where this project came from? How you came up with the idea.
Yeah, so this game I've kind of started developing about a year ago. So I kind of feel a bit of a cheat with the game jam because I think a lot of people, like come up with brand new ideas, but I knew I kind of had limited time in October, and I've kind of been like focusing in on working on this project, just iterating on it. Um, but yeah, it stemmed from uh, I've have a background in video game development, and then kind of got into board game development, and kind of knowing like, all right, I want to start off small and think of like a party game, and then just looked at different party games that I liked and kind of research, like studied what different feedback I got or criticisms on them, or just ways to kind of put my spin on it. And so names is one, and I've heard that brought up with the MinnHax crew and also wavelength as well.
Yeah,
So
I was
this
gonna
kind of has a
bring it up.
little
It's kind of like
DNA.
a code names wavelength sort of. Yeah.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. In the chat, someone just mentioned a 5 numbers between words. I've definitely tested that out. Originally it was like there were only 3 words and it was a triangle, and yeah, tried with 5. It's doable. There's a lot more minutia there though.
Well, there's also probably a way you could think of making it, kind of modular. Like you include different versions. If you were selling this in like a boxed full copy of it, you could include the triangle version and the square version and the 5 numbers between them version, and kind of let people figure out the way that they like to play it the most. I think having those options would be cool.
Exactly. I actually when my like first like paper prototype was like had a board to it, but then by having just like these cards set up now, you can just kind of throw in, make it however you want. So you've got those options.
And you can also, just throw it in your pocket. You don't have to bring like a whole big foldable setup and all of that, which is nice.
Yep, that too. Yeah, and yeah, it's been good just like play testing with friends and family, but also just random people, and even gotten like other board game designers and some conventions and stuff to try it out, give feedback. But it's been really good and positive.
That's awesome. And for the record, there is absolutely no problem with working on an existing project more during this game jam. It's
Thank you,
it's not
thank you.
like we're not doing a competition here or anything. As long as everyone's
Right.
having fun together and making cool stuff, that's literally the only requirement. So you're good there. No guilt allowed in terms of what you've come up with here.
Thank you.
No,
Thanks.
this is super awesome. Does anyone have any questions for our developer here? I liked that in the description you said that it's also something that you can kind of play with existing cards from other games. Like if you have Codenames cards, you can kind of just use Codenames cards, or you can make your own.
Right.
Just
Yeah,
write
that
down
is.
random words. I think that's really smart.
Yeah, that is kind of how my initial prototypes were. Initial prototype was actually using there's a game called Mysterium that has like really cool abstract artwork, and so instead of words in the corners it was like abstract artwork, but that gets a little too much. Like people are like looking at it, the cards, and really trying to decipher it. Slows it down a lot, and
Yeah, that sounds like
I kind of
with
wanted
my
to keep it
friends.
happy.
With my friends, we played Codenames Pictures once, and then I think went back to regular
Yeah, yeah.
Codenames forever. It was like, yeah, it's kind of cool, but I like Codenames.
Yeah.
Couple questions, but I mean, again, actually, that could totally be something you include in like a alternate version. You could have
Yep.
swappable, whether you're doing words or pictures or anything like that. A couple questions from the chat. The online version works really well. How long did that take to get running?
Yeah, thanks. That's kind of what I worked on for. I had like an initial version that I had before, and then I spent October kind of like updating it because that was like an old triangle version that was like from a while ago. So I spent about a couple weeks redoing updating the artwork, and uh, yeah, screentop.gg is really easy to use. I'm not a programmer. I do more like art animation type stuff. Uh, so it was easy to work with.
Yeah, that's awesome. I hadn't heard of it
And
before
then
this.
making videos takes time too.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. I definitely think we need to add screentop.gg to our resources list because that seems like something that a lot of people could use if they wanted to do board game prototypes for a jam. I wasn't familiar with it before, but it seems super cool.
Yeah, and it's free, so it's like an easy way to just get rather than, I like Tabletop Simulator too, and there's others out there on Steam. But yeah, screentop.gg is completely free, at least for now.
Nice. There's another question from the chat. Where can I buy this?
So I've started pitching. I went to but yeah, it's not for sale yet, but thank you. I did start pitching to some publishers. I talked to some designers. I wasn't planning to pitch at Gen Con. Went up there. It's a big board game convention in Indiana, and went there and talked to different designers. Like, kind of went to a little designer meetup, and people were like, "Oh yeah, you should totally just go up to booths and just tell them about your game and give them a sell sheet." So, kind of been starting to talk with a couple publishers, but we'll see. I actually talked with or someone from CGE. They're the ones that make code names.
Oh, nice.
He was nice enough to play it, and then afterwards I saw him like taking some photos, and he's like, "Yeah, He's like, "It's a shot in the dark. But he's like, "I'll send this to the code names team and see what they think."
That's
So
awesome.
wait and see, and yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations. You've made something super cool here. If there aren't any other questions, again, my last question for you. You have fun being a part of the game jam this month?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love the MinnHax community and like kind of the whole like better quest and stuff. I feel like a lot of that kind of like helped push me to be more productive and have fun with it.
Yeah, definitely. Before we were doing the game jams here, I definitely used Better Quest as an excuse for I should probably work on my side projects that I've been saying I should do for forever. Well,
Yeah,
awesome.
cuts into the video game playing time a little bit, but
sure. Yeah,
it's
that was
fun.
another thing I was going to mention. If we do this again next year, maybe we should look at the release calendar first and maybe not do it in October 2023. Just a note for myself for next year. But yeah, this was super awesome to have a physical game included. I always love seeing the variety of stuff. All right. Very cool. Hope to have you again next year, and best of luck with the pitching process. And I think we are going to move on to our last game of the day here. If your game was not included today, there is going to be another one of these next week. I believe that is next Saturday at 7 Central. So if your game was submitted but is not in today's showcase, it will be in the next one. And our last game here is going to be the Great Pumpkin Grapple. So let me go ahead and pull that up. One second. All right, and here we go. This is a controller game because it's using the sticks. Do we happen to have a developer here for the Great Pumpkin Grapple?
Hello.
Howdy, hey. So I'm going to say that you are probably rmaxgibson, judging by this credits screen.
Hi, I'm Max.
Awesome. Why don't you give us a quick overview of, I guess you probably worked on all of it, and then what platform did you use and anything like that?
Yeah, so I made this with Unreal Engine 5. And yeah, it's kind of based on the old N64 game Iggy's Wrecking Balls.
And did you have Unreal experience before this?
No. So yeah, I've mostly been doing Unity lately, and yeah, with like many others, with all that's going on with Unity, I decided to try out Unreal.
Very cool. What was that process like, coming from Unity to
Well,
Unreal? They're pretty different in a lot of ways.
yeah, so Cherry Stemic brought up the blueprints, the visual scripting language, which has its advantages, but is definitely a bit jarring in like a game jam sense, especially because in a game jam you're doing kind of dirty code, quick and dirty. And with a visual scripting language, you get to see exactly how dirty it is and how messy everything is. You got lines crossing everywhere. It's just like, oh, this is ugly.
Yeah, Blueprints is a really, really cool tool. It definitely lets people who, sorry, I'm trying to focus while talking here. Trying to hit my grapples. Yeah, it definitely opens up programming to a lot more people. People who are either off-put or just don't have experience with, written coding languages. It's definitely a really cool option. But also, yeah, like you said, has its own quirks and its own problems too. How did you feel about Unreal by the end of the month? Is that same question I asked the Godot team earlier? Does it feel like this is like an option for you moving forward, or is it more like that was fun for a month and now I'll go back to Unity now that things have quieted down?
Yeah, I mean, I think for projects I've got kind of in progress, I gotta stick with what I got. But for the future, it's definitely an option.
Awesome. So the game itself, super cool, especially getting if people at home can't tell, it's using both sticks on the controller, so it is kind of a controller required. Oh god, controller required game. Oh wait, what do we got over there? Little secret. Nice. So it's left stick for moving around, and then it's right stick for shooting your little grapple, so you can kind of shoot in whatever direction you need to. How was the controller implementation stuff in Unreal? I imagine that's all pretty streamlined these days.
Yeah, actually, that's something I liked quite a bit in Unreal. The input, I think, kind of the standard input implementations, I think, a lot easier and better done than in Unity.
Yeah, that's been my experience with it too. Is some of that stuff is a little more out of the box.
Yeah, with Unity, I use a plugin for input stuff.
Is there anything else Unreal specific that you learned to either like or dislike along the way?
Well, so as someone who's not an artist, the Unreal just giving you access to all the Quixel Mega scans was just really nice for a game jam where you can just throw in
put textures on stuff and
throw higher quality textures that I can produce myself.
Right.
And it's at least decent looking that way.
Yeah, this looks super cool. I love the even just like the sunset for whatever reason has like a fall vibe to the sunset. I don't know how to put my finger on it more than that, but it's it's like purples and oranges and
yeah, so it's an orange light. So usually you would use like a white light for the sun, but for this I think just make it orange.
Very cool. Oh no, I'm blowing it again.
Well, some of the the jankiness of the coding, some of the momentum doesn't quite hold up on some of the tougher parts of it.
No, I think it works pretty well for something made in a month, especially in an engine that you haven't touched before. I think that's awesome. Was there anything that you wanted to include? Was it just if you had another week, would it be more levels? Would it be more mechanics?
Yeah, I mean there's certainly plenty of other mechanics in Iggy's Wrecking Balls that I could have brought over that would have been interesting, but it's just kind of trying to certainly I saved kind of levels to the last minute, and without like proper level editing tools, it's it takes longer than you would want, sort of thing. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Anybody in voice or text with any questions for the developer? I did notice, so obviously it's a Halloween theme, so that's one of the side quests. We found the Jeffem head, so that's a side quest. Were there any other ones that you were looking at or interested in?
I don't think so. It was a lot of that stuff was kind of last minute, like, oh, what else
Yeah.
is on there?
Right. There's not a lot of game jam games where you're like, oh, I got an extra week. What can I squeeze in there? It's
Yeah.
usually it's the opposite. No, I love that there's so many of them that are kind of Halloween themed. I think it puts a nice timestamp on this jam, which is fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, also non-violent entry. That's true. Again, whether by happenstance or because you wanted to do the side quest, but yeah,
I guess the violent parts of Iggy's Wrecking Balls, they didn't make it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just like a personal taste thing of mine, where I think that's just that's something that spurs creativity a little bit more if you ask people to make a non-violent game, because I think a lot of people's instincts are make what they know, and what they know is usually a gun or a sword or whatever. So I definitely try to, when we're coming up with the list of side quests, we try to think about things that would make people think a little bit more outside the box if we can, which is cool, because again, they're like, I guess you would call this a platformer, but it's still so different from every other platformer entry we got. It's not like, oh, here we go, we got 8 Halloween platformers again. It's like, no, these are all completely different, which is super fun to see. I love the variety in all of them. Oh no.
Yeah, when I was implementing the grapple, I was looking for like tutorials on kind of good ways to do that in Unreal, and they're all from like right after Halo Infinite came out. There's just tons and tons of like do the Halo Infinite grapples, and so I found one of those that was like adjustable enough that I could use that as a base.
Yeah. This whole section here with the Jeffem head, I think the stuff that's really impressive there too is which I'm not showcasing well, but the like the camera switching while retaining the player movement feeling good is always a challenge. When the camera rotates 90 degrees and you still want the player to be controlled camera relative rather than real space relative, that's always a little tricky to pull off. So nice job on all that.
Yeah, there's one spot on this level, like right above you there, where you can switch between the 2 rings, and you found a bug.
Just save everyone's ears real quick.
But there's a spot there where the camera gets it has to do a full 180 twist that gets a little bit iffy, but otherwise, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, last question for you, if we don't have any questions from the chat that I see. They're just talking about setting up speedruns for this game. Hoping to see this at Awesome Games Done Quick.
So Iggy's Wrecking Ball is a racing game, so it is kind of it is meant for seeing if you can go fast.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a timer in there. Yeah, if there aren't any other questions, last question for you. Did you have a good time working on this month?
Yeah, it was great to work on. Thank you for you and Ray and everyone who put it together and organized it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I have to do much less than the people actually working on games, and I just get to show up at the end and tell everyone how great a job they did, and everyone goes home happy. So I will gladly do this every year. And hopefully, we'll see you again next year if we do another one next year, and we'll hopefully try to avoid whatever the busiest release month of next year is, because I'm sure that affected everyone's scheduling a little bit, even if they won't admit it. All right. Well, thanks so much. And I think that is going to do it for today's showcase. So this was the first half of the games. As a reminder, there will be the other half of the awesome games next week. I believe that is currently scheduled for, Saturday the 18th at 7 Central. So if your game was not in the showcase today, it will be in next week's. And we'd love to have you all back then. Otherwise, thank you so much to all the devs. You all did amazing work. This was a super fun time to play through these. And we hope to see you all next week, next year, the year after that. And just keep making cool stuff forever. Congratulations, everybody, and have a good one.